Greetings and hello, Trek fans and model fans. Wanted to do this as an update. So I was working on the Klingon D7 model, and I've kind of shifted gears over into the Romulan Bird of Prey model, and then I'll go back over to the Klingon model. This, I believe, is a picture of a scratch-built ship of the Romulan Warbird, and this picture's trademarked, so I'm going to mention that. 2008. I don't know if that's GK or KG. Anyways, I got to give them credit that this ship is, I consider this the closest dimensionally correct model I've seen so far of the Romulan Warbird from the original Star Trek. There was only about 6 or 7 pictures of that ship. I think I've mentioned that before. There's a few things on here I could probably call out. This plasma emitter should be centered in here. They have it too low. These windows are a little bit bigger on the picture of the model. These are actually supposed to be portholes. This is supposed to have, according to the blueprints, this has like a passageway around here with these windows. All these little round ones are sensors and cloaking device emitters. I like that they painted this in a green color, and from, like I said, I'm pretty sure this is handmade. This is balsa wood or balsa wood and Bondo. You can see the brush strokes in it and the sanding marks and stuff. So I give them a little bit of credit for if this is being a homemade model. I'm not sure what scale it is. I don't know if they custom made these decals, or if they took them out of a kit, or if they got them from the because somebody had made a 1/350 scale garage kit. But it's kind of interesting because I think by the time they took, whoever took the pictures of the pictures of this was a little bit older. You can see where the decals have been damaged right here on the port power plant. You can see the seam line, so I don't know if they did that in 2 half tubes. They did paint it with the tape lines and use the different shades of green to simulate panels, which is kind of cool. And they actually have a light in it. I don't know if it's one light and they just have it lensed, or if they have 2 lights, but they definitely have the Bassard globes lit, and like this orange light from the thrust nozzles, exhaust nozzles, whatever you want to call them. He has the taper on the vertical stabilizer, which is kind of cool. They kind of flatten this out over here. They have it rounded here, but they have it kind of flat up here, and I think that's, like I said, I could nitpick on little things, but I can't really knock it. It's really, really good. It's one of the closest ones I've seen, and it doesn't have the engines up extra high like the blueprints do. And the blueprints were made 9 to 10 years after the model was made, and then the creator of the model, actually, the story he told is that he became angry because Desilu would not pay him and or give him credit for that ship, and that he destroyed it with a sledgehammer in the backyard, which is kind of a shame. And I believe, I take the man at his word. I think that's probably what he did. It'd be nice if he actually gave it to somebody or stuck it away somewhere and the world could find it someday, but I think he smashed it up. Anyways, I got about 6 shots of this because I was thinking this is a model you could order or get a hold of somewhere, but like I said, I think this is somebody just scratch built this, and they did a damn good job. What I'm trying to do in my attempts, a little picture of the basically the bridge. It's supposed to be the bridge in the Romulan Warbird from the original series. I think this pipe is wrong, though. Actually, I think this side is right and this side is wrong. From other episodes I've seen, it seems like this pipe did this. It was symmetrical. It wasn't asymmetrical like this. It literally had it came down this way and came down this way. But this is kind of interesting. This is the station. In this, they have this as round. I'm pretty sure this was a square tube in the original series. I rewatched that episode, Balance of Terror. They have this as a triangle, and this part here, I'm pretty sure it was made out of square tube. Have to go back and look. Might be round, but I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure it had edges. Might even be triangular and just appear to be square. And here, and I've showed this shot before, but this is the actual filming model hanging from the gantry gimbal that they used to film. And I find this kind of interesting that this building had to have been from the 30s or 40s because of the way they layer in the boards. They didn't use plywood in buildings back then. They literally built the frame and then they angled the boards into the roof and stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting architecture. But anyway, the ship itself, the ship model, ironically was, I'm just guessing at this, but it was somewhere around 1/72nd scale. This give or take is about 3 to 3.5 feet by 4 to 4.5 feet. So it was somewhere into 187 to 1/72nd scale. It would really be funny if it was 1/87 scale, because that means it would be in the actual scale, basically, that the 11-foot Enterprise Hero model is made. Because this ship, that I've also pointed out on other videos, this ship was a lot smaller than what they portray, especially in the fan films, the new fan films. They have this ship basically being a third of the size of the Enterprise, and it was nowhere near that. This was 68.2 meters long, 68 meters and 2 centimeters from the very tip of those engine Bussard bulbs to the corner tips of the main hull there. That was your full length of the ship. And this, I think I've showed this before, but this is a toy/model that is made, and the man actually put a little, I think it's a magnet in here. He made it like in a little interior shuttle bay, and he kind of created the 3-man shuttle, sort of like they make it on the blueprints, but he added fold-up wings and little engines on it, which makes it still looks a real Buck Roger-ish, but it did make it look a little bit better than what the blueprints show on it. The blueprints, they really did that lazy. That little 3-man shuttle they got on the blueprints it just looks like an egg with a canopy. Here's another original picture. It's pretty grainy, but this is where I've noticed that this nozzle actually, in fact, I kind of can't tell. I can tell that it has a little bit more of a round shape on the bottom, but I didn't think it did on the top. But it's hard to tell because it's a black and white picture, and I don't know how he made it or drilled it or whatever, but you can tell that these little square window ports, they line up with the top of that, and they don't do that on the blueprint, and they don't do that on that green model I was just showing you. And these, the engine nacelles with the wing pylon, I call it a wing pylon because it's an engine support pylon, but it's also made to be kind of like a wing, and they conjectured because this could go down into the atmosphere. It's really hard to see here, but these are either the center line of this engine lines up with the top of this fin, or they set maybe a little higher, but they don't set as high as the blueprints would let on. Okay, this I found online. I thought this was really funny after watching Enterprise, because me, along with a lot of other old Trek fans, really kind of got pissed at this, that they put this in Enterprise for a couple reasons. For one, it looks way more modern than this, and for two, when they came out and gave the ship dimensions, this is almost twice the size of this. It was just somewhat ridiculous that, it wouldn't have been so bad if they would have had kind of like a big clunkier looking version of this. But this looks like something that comes out of Star Trek The Next Generation, not the 22nd century as compared to the 23rd. This would be like they went backwards in their ship design evolution. So I kind of thought it was funny that somebody made a poster like this. Okay, here, and like I said, I think I've already showed a little bit of this. This is a blueprint of the decks, and they say 5 decks. There's 4 decks in this ship. There's not 5 decks. The only way you could maybe even consider calling maybe that there's 5 decks is if you call this inert space or storage space a deck, or it's just this is not a 5-deck ship according to the blueprints. And Franz Joseph made these blueprints, and this is one, like I said, this ship optically, even when they take pictures of it, anytime you angle it, it's really hard to tell the elevation of those power plants and wings with the ship. You lean it one way, it makes the thing look way high, and the other side way low. Or certain angles it makes them both look real high. But since they are in an upsweep motion, I think this man, and his whoever was helping him, they did a pretty decent job on this, and he definitely did a pretty decent job. But I don't know if he just had the 6 pictures. I don't know if he talked to Mr. Wang. So I don't really know if they just decided to make this up and, took the shape and figured it made sense like this, or what. But this is pretty much considered the standard for this ship. So if you this is the Klingon D7 blueprint from the side, and then this is the Romulan Warbird from the side, and this is how large this ship would be compared to this ship. And the Enterprise is yet about to put it in perspective, in 1/72nd scale, the Enterprise would be 13 feet long. This ship would be 10 feet long. This ship is about 3.5 feet long. So again, this is a lot smaller than what they portray it on screen usually. Here's a top view I put together of it, and this is again off of the blueprints. So this is your D7 as compared to your Romulan bird of prey with the scale and size. Okay, this is some of my 3D modeling pics. This is where I was just starting to get the shape of this. I've actually 3D modeled this ship before, but this is a little bit different because I'm actually having to model this into pieces as if it's a model that you put together in the real world. So when I 3D print this out, it'll actually come out as a model. And if I just made it a picture shell in a sense, like in 3D space, if you just make a cube and it has 8 vertices, it's not really there. It's there in a 3D program, or you can put it into a slicer and it'll tell it it's a solid object and give you a solid cube. But it's got imaginary paper thin walls that doesn't exist in a sense. So this, you have to actually tell it to give it wall thickness and stuff like that. Unless you're going to make it, like I said, if you're going to print this out as just one big solid glob, then you could use less vertices and stuff like that. You wouldn't have all these extra dots making your walls and stuff. But I'm at the size I'm making this, where it's going to be about 1.5 feet long, and 1/200 scale. This would come out to like 29 centimeters, which is actually just about a foot. It isn't even over a foot long, and it should be about probably about about 1.5 wide. We'll see when we print it out. I haven't really checked the width, but I'm scaling it to the length because the Klingon ship in 1/200 scale comes out to about 3.5 feet, which is pretty cool. But I have to, even on this, I have to split the main hull and I have to split this top into halves to practically print it, and then I'm going to have to put in support ledges and stuff like that. So in here, this shows this little supposed 3-man shuttle I was telling you about that just looks like I said to me, it looks like an eggs with little landing gear and the little Buck Rogers rocket tail, and it's got the little tiny vertical fin that wouldn't do shit. And then I don't know if this thing's supposed to flip up like an aircraft lid or what the heck, but it's just so crappy. And then these big landing pads on here, because Mr. Wang didn't design any landing supports in it. They did, and this is the landing leg, and this is a ramp for them to walk up. And I think that they would have this a lot closer to the ground. They wouldn't want. It's not a 45-degree angle, but I mean it's a steep angle. They could have made this even with landing pads. The pads would be much smaller, and they would, I think your ground level actually be between here and here. I think it would be a lot closer to where the ramp would just have to come down a little ways. And like I said, I don't think they'd make these pads, 30 feet across kind of thing. They would be smaller. Okay, so I'm just popping some of the different angles. This is where I was first modeling this. Then I started putting in the sensor, adding these objects in to add detail to the hull, to the top of the hull. So I had to make the little objects so I could take them around halfway, then I could slice it and mirror it. For you that know about 3D modeling, you know what I'm talking about. You can model half a ship, you don't really have to model the whole ship, and then you can just tell it to mirror it and it'll duplicate it, so it cuts down the workflow. And I was considering, because I actually have these objects here, and I had these objects here with the I made them so I could separate these, and then I was going to bullion this. But to do that, I really had to have a lot of geometry, and I might consider that in the future. But for now, I honestly think it's just easier to print this out and literally take a drill and just drill these out. And here's the nozzle. So like I said, from what I gathered from the picture, I could definitely see it had a little bit of a bend down in it with a little bit of a circle. It looked like it might on the top too, but I'm kind of reserving on that. But and I'm sure my model's not going to be exactly as the real filming model was, and it's probably not going to be exactly like the blueprints. I'm going to endeavor to make it as accurate as possible to what I think the pictures were like, though. And here's where I'm cutting it so I can mirror it and or model the parts on it. And this is where it's starting to look like where I had the details in there. Okay, then I have to go to either making, so I was going to make the wing supports next, and to make those I actually kind of made them flat to start with. But what I forgot to do is I didn't make them hollow. I didn't make them, again, I didn't make these in a sense like a model piece. This is all designed like a model piece, and this is actually two pieces. And I designed it to clamp that in. But I forgot to put more or less conduit tunnels in here. Okay, so if you want to run wires up to the engine nacelles, you could do that. So I kind of started out messing this up, and then I had to redesign it. And this kind of shows, like I said, this shows how I'm splitting it up. These are actually the different sections of the ship. And then when I print this out, I got to test fit all these, and if they don't fit, I got to readjust the measurements to get them. You know, I want, but I really want this to be accurate, so that when you put this together, it's nuts tight. A few more pictures. Yeah, I'm up on 20 minutes already. Okay, this is a test. I put these. This is my slicer software. This is the way you put this in here and design it so that when you put it in your printer, it'll print these. And on my Anycubic M3, this would be I'd probably print the two tops and the two bottom halves. I could literally print the entire hull at one shot. I couldn't print the entire ship, but I could print the entire hull, which would be cool. But I still have to redesign these. Like I said, I want to put in some alignment tabs and support tabs and stuff like that, so when you put the two halves together, you have areas that make it easier for you to put this together, so that it'll come out looking like one piece. When you know, it should be that tight and that smooth. You could do minimal sanding and stuff on it. So here I was debating. I was trying to make these engine units to where they went on the end of the support pylon wings, and you can tell now. You can see the conduit hole in there. So I literally got a hollow. I got a little thick wing with the hollow conduit hole through there. So once we put this up on we make a stand for it, we can actually run wires through it, whether you plug it in or you did battery. Some people, as big as this is, it would be easy enough to just put batteries in it and stuff too. Make a put somewhere on here where you could literally have basically you can open it and put batteries in it, take them back out, whatnot, and or make it to where you could twist on your tail end of your engine so you could change your light bulbs and stuff like that, which is something I need to consider, so that you don't make it as a total model and glue the whole thing together and you got the lights, and you know, if your wires mess up or something like that, you could actually make this into where you could model it, but yet you could model it to where you could probably, I don't know if you pull the whole top off, but you could make it to where I could probably model this separate to where you could pull this up, and that would make that solid on the top too if I made this one piece. So it's ideas I'm messing with. Get it figured out. We'll make a nice model and have it to where you, like I said, you could either put the batteries and stuff in it, or you can, because I'm even thinking about putting soundboards in it and speakers and stuff. It'll be a good enough size you could do that with. And this is one of the first shots. I colored the globes and the nozzles so you could see the difference. Okay, here we go. This is where I was talking about running into these different scales. And it's kind of funny because this is actually really shitty. They have the wings are too long, the engines are too skinny, this part on top's way too big, the engine's too stubby. So this was just somebody like really slapped this up together, and they got a couple pictures. This is a picture from the original series. This is a digitally remastered pictures, and again they put the engines way too high. And almost everything you see with this ship says it has usually says it has 5 decks, but the blueprints, like I said, it's a 4-deck vessel. It's 68.2 meters long. This is saying it's 131. They usually say it'll go warp 4. This is saying it'll go warp 8, and it cruises at 6. And the other one says there's 150 people, so they have 75 on all the time, 75 in bed. This says they have 170. One plasma torpedo, 10 torpedo tubes. And what they were talking about with the tubes is they have 5 holes that again, on the Franz Joseph blueprints, he put 5 holes on each wings that were supposed to have kind of like one missile on it. They were supposed to be like nuclear missiles. That was a last ditch effort, or they could use them at the captain's discretion, but they only had 10 shots on those. 2 shuttlecraft, it says, and then they get some names, but and they put the newer emblem from the Next Generation Deep Space Nine era stuff. But like I said, so that's, I call that like scale number 2. They wanted to enlarge the ship. Okay, and now this one here, this one is saying that the ship is 352 feet and 5 inches, which I'm not sure that was meters. This is 131 meters. I would have to get out my calculator and figure out the size of this. But again, coming back to this one here, it's saying it's 352 and a half, and it's showing it next to the Enterprise, and then on the Enterprise they have the same exact nacelle. They're saying this is 352 and 9 inches, and that the whole ship's 947, which that's true, but they got this dimension way messed up, because if you can see the primary hull is 339 and a half from this edge to the tail of the shuttle bay, and that engine is so longer, so they messed that up. Whoever was doing this must have been doing it late, and they typoed it. But again, this makes the ship somewhat bigger than it normally is. If I remember right, 68.2 meters is give or take about 180 feet. So this, again, they're trying to make this thing twice as big. What I do like a little bit with this is that if the ship was this big, you could put nicer shuttlecraft in it. You can put bigger shuttlecraft in it. This actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This has 7 decks, and they kind of make the top deck look like it's kind of like a sub deck. It's like an engineering area, because they actually put the command center one deck further down than the Franz Joseph blueprints. Then they have these ladders. They put in this honeycombed frame structure, which is kind of neat because it makes it like it's more alien. It doesn't look like it's exactly copied like from how Starfleet or how the Federation or how Earth makes ships per se. And then this, he come up with kind of a, they put machinery inside the engine. They got this big jumble of this kind of twisted up things, and then it ends up going into what looks like propulsion nozzles. And that actually says impulse drive, which is hilarious in a sense, because the blueprints show impulse engines on the back of the main body, just kind of like they do on the Starship has the impulse drive here, not in the nacelles. So, again, it is what it is. Somebody put some work and effort and stuff into this, but kind of cracks me up that I've literally found like 5 scales to this ship. Now I'm just about on a half an hour. It's really funny to me how fast time goes when you're talking about something, but I wanted to show you more or less what I've done with the model. I've colored it in, and I have basically finished the model. Like I said, I can definitely, depending on what I'm wanting to do with it, I can I kind of put these shapes in here because, like I said, I think I'm probably going to put a light in there. If I don't like the way it looks, I might take that out and then actually put the shape further up because I have these parts segregated. So I'm either going to light this up in here or fix it to where you can light it in here, or I'm going to make it more hollowed out. You could paint it, you could paint it silver or black or whatever, and you could put this further down in here, and I could print a colored lens, put it in here. And the same thing with the Bussard globe. Bring this out here a second. So if we hide that, if I print out the Bussard globe in a thick, kind of like translucent green color, and I have it rigged up on here, then again you could light this too. And I could actually probably make that to where I could probably put some threads on this, like a jar lid, or just even put slots through there where the globe would fit through with little catches where you could stick it up there and turn it a few degrees and it would kind of like catch itself on there. Because I do think that would be pretty neat if you want to light this model, and or like I said, if I put a soundboard in it, then I need to put it somewhere where you can hear it, where it isn't just vibrating through the hole. So I'm going to have to figure out, like I said. So one of the things would be where I move that light further up and then put a speaker in there, and you put a light in front of the speaker, and then that way you literally got the sound coming out through a hole, not muffled inside. And now about all I got to do is the other thing I've thought about doing, and I might do over time, is I might engineer panel lines on the model to give you a guide. And on the blueprints, because I've kind of designed this vertical stabilized on the blueprints, I might have to thin it down a little bit, but that's actually what it looks like on the blueprints. It's actually supposed to be that thick. And I put the engine nacelles, I don't have them centered with that. I have them a little bit higher. I got them up on this line here, but they're still, I think, way closer. And then I also raised that trailing edge, and it seems like it's a little bit more extreme on the blueprints, but that's because they're up here for one. And the green model, they're damn near flat, like an airplane wing. And I put in kind of like a straight guideline, which I could smooth that out, but I don't think that's going to hurt anything. I think once you have that bird on there, it's going to be a whole... once you get the bird decals on there, the lines are not going to be as evident, and those lines help guide with the putting on a decal. So I don't, because I'm going to have to either with a model that big, I'm probably going to have to make a decal to where you have a wing decal and your engine decal and your body decals, or even possibly two where you got to match the lines up and stuff. But I'll see that once I get to the test fitting stage and stuff like that. And I'm coming up on 35 minutes, so I'm going to end this now. I appreciate you guys watching it. I hope that the people that are modelers really like this, and we'll update again.